my side. Nobody to console me, nobody to call home me. Hey, what the man you got coma?
Hi ninjas, how are you doing? It's your girl Owamie, and welcome back to another episode of To Hell and Back. Now obviously if it's your first time joining us, you're most definitely welcome. Please do make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you also hit the bell so that you do not miss any uploads. Thank you guys so much for 36,000 subscribers. Please, if you've not joined, please make sure that you actually do join us, okay, by subscribing. And of course, if you've not caught up with our previous episodes, they're actually here. You can go ahead and just watch them. If you've not watched season 1 at all, honey, you need to go and watch season 1 as well. Now today, my ninjas, we're actually here with a very special guest all the way back from London, Dolan. Welcome,
Thank
Lady
you.
Q.
Thank you again.
Yes, you're back.
Back for season 2.
Back for season 2, honey.
Will I be
Okay.
back in season 3 again?
Of course. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
different things, right?
Yeah,
different things. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You look very beautiful.
Thank you. Guys, did you know? Did you know she's a makeup artist? If you didn't know, exhibit A.
If you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know,
Yeah.
nigga.
But how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, obviously, some of you guys may be familiar with Q. She has got a very large following on TikTok. You should go follow her. You should also follow her on Instagram as well. Make sure that we leave all those links in the description box down below. Now, last time, which was last year, when you filmed here, we were actually, talking about something completely different. You know, we're talking about how you grew up in an orphanage and, these things that would happen. We're talking about like you guys used to eat food that was not very So we will also make sure that we just link that episode if you're interested in watching that. But this time you're actually back with something very huge. It's quite heavy. I think you guys can actually hear the atmosphere is not like before.
Low.
It is a bit low, and please just go ahead and
Do I need to share the whole story again?
Please.
Okay, so you guys already know, I grew up in an orphanage. I lost my parents when I was newborn. And on one of the days I was at school and I got a message to say I need to come back home early because there was something important. And when I got back home, the social worker and the other person in charge called me to the office and told me that there was something that they needed to talk to me about. Then they just started off with asking me a whole lot of questions about what I know about HIV and how it's contracted and all that sort of stuff. And after a while, they got to the point and they said, the reason why we've called you back home early and the reason why we're asking you these questions is because you were actually born HIV positive. And they told me that I contracted this from my mother. So I would assume that she passed on from HIV or maybe something HIV related, like TB or something, I don't know. So and when I heard that news, I was so I literally felt like I was hit by a train, because my friend who's a doctor now, she tells me that it's even difficult for adults to hear this, and that's why they go for counseling. A lot of people end their lives themselves after hearing this news, because it's like it feels like a death sentence. And when I heard this as a child, because I was probably 12 or 13 when I heard this, something like that. And my confidence was just shot. I felt dirty. I felt like it was unfair. I didn't look at myself the same after that. Didn't want to get involved with boys anymore because of other things. I'll get to that a bit later. But I just remember just feeling very, very, very dirty. And I just lost all confidence in myself. I did try to end my life a couple of times.
Yeah.
I remember one day I went to the bathroom and I mixed some cleaning chemicals into a cup and I wanted to drink it. And I sat, it was after hours, everyone else was sleeping. And I sat there for I don't know how long just thinking about why not just end myself before this thing takes me, you know?
What education did you have about HIV before that day?
The normal education that there is, in LO, they'll teach you about HIV and they're always talking about the stigma of it. And it's that, they'll have these stories. I don't know if you remember these stories, but they were like, Sipho had HIV and he was bullied. And eventually at the end of the story, he grows his confidence and all that sort of stuff. And I think maybe in school, I listened and I agreed and I nodded. But then when it hit me, then it was not Sipho anymore. Now it's Q. And it was surreal. I was not in a good place at all, emotionally.
Understandably so.
Yeah, and psychologically as well. And besides them telling me that on that day, I didn't receive any other counseling or any help. I just had to continue. Now, what was happening before they told me this was that I would go and get my bloods taken every 6 months. Apparently, my CD4 count was still high at that time, so I didn't need to start ARVs. So I would just go to the hospital every 6 months and they would do this test. You know this one?
The one that they draw blood.
And then they take it to the labs and it comes back like a week later or something. And they had already been doing this before they told me this news. I was too young to understand what was happening. And then when they told me, it made sense and I just had to continue going for the tests every 6 months to make sure that my CD4 count was still okay. And when it wasn't okay, then I would have to start on ARVs. So, I did this for years. And when I finally left the orphanage, because I was now in the habit of going to the clinic, to the hospital and checking my CD4, after every 6 months, I did it in the first year of varsity. This was the first time I was doing it on my own.
Well, okay, before we get there, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just also want to know, you said a statement here.
Yeah.
You said that you felt dirty when they told you, right? Is there a particular reason? Was it maybe the education that you were getting from school?
Definitely.
Or, what maybe other kids would say when you guys were not in class? Because remember, this was a long time ago.
Very long, yeah.
And this was the time that HIV, the stigma was not as destigmatized. It was like proper, like it was there. You've got HIV, you're going to die. Like there's nothing. You understand what I'm saying? The pictures of people that were HIV positive that used to be posted was of people that were very sickly.
Very frail.
And
the reason why I also felt really dirty was because of the response that I got when I got this news. I told my then best friend. We were 12, 13 years old. She wasn't any more clued up on this topic than I was.
Was she also from the orphanage?
No, she wasn't.
Oh, okay.
She was from school.
Okay.
So I told her this because I thought, this thing is so heavy on me. Let me tell my best friend who's always supported me. And I told her this and her response wasn't great. I can't remember what she said, but it was something along the lines of she didn't want to be friends with someone who was sick anymore, which at that time you can imagine what it did to me. But now when I look back at it, we were children. So I don't
hold anything against her.
Yeah, I don't have any grudges towards her. We're not best friends anymore, but we do talk.
Sometime, yeah.
Yeah, like she'll congratulate me on a lot of things. Every year we wish each other happy birthday and all this stuff. But I don't blame her for for saying any of those things. But that was the reality at the time. We were young. Like I said, I didn't get much counseling after hearing this, and neither did she, because she didn't need it. So it's understandable why her response was that. But as a result, I did feel very dirty, unwanted. I didn't tell any of my other friends this because I had already lost one friend. I didn't want to lose any more. And I remember how in school I would have to lie about why I couldn't donate blood, because you know in the schools they always have those blood clinics.
Yeah.
And my friends would always want to draw blood. I mean, donate blood.
Yeah.
And I would always have to lie about why I can't. And yeah, it was just a very, very confusing time.
Lonely, I would also
very,
have to
very lonely. It just felt very isolated. Even the other kids at the orphanage, I didn't
tell
them either. And yeah, it was just me and my thoughts.
Did you ever feel afraid that your friend that you had told would actually tell the other kids?
Yes, I did.
Did she ever?
I don't think she did.
Okay.
No, but I did feel scared that she would. Yeah, I kind of imagined at times maybe when people would ask her, why are you not friends with Q anymore? You know, she might say something, but I'm glad that didn't happen. So at least she was mature in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
So now let's
fast forward. You're now going to varsity. Yeah.
And like I said, I've been going to draw bloods every 6 months. CD4 count is still high, so I have not been started on ARVs yet.
You would see your test results?
Yeah, I would see them.
Okay.
I still have them. And I go to the clinic or the hospital. And this is in Cape Town now. And they do this test here.
Yeah.
For I don't know what reason.
A rapid test, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it comes back negative. And then I'm like, no, please do it again, because I know my results. I'm just here to check.
How old were you at this time now?
How old are you in first year? 19?
About 18, 19, yeah.
18. I might have still been 18 because it was beginning of first year.
Okay.
So maybe I hadn't had my birthday yet. I don't know. But I did the test and it came back negative. I said, please do it again. It came back negative again. I said, please, like, I know for sure that I am positive. And they said, well, the tests are never wrong. So let's maybe just do this one now.
The lab
test. And then I come back in a few days and we'll tell you what it says. I did come back in a few days and it indeed was negative. And it just dawned upon me then what had happened. They had lied. The orphanage and possibly the hospital had all lied to me about my status for years. I'm only realizing now why they might have done that. And it was probably for monetary gain. That kids who are HIV positive do get a higher, what do you call it? Grant?
A higher grant,
a grant. Kids who are disabled get a higher grant. Yeah, so that's, I don't know, I've never felt so, is it betrayal? Yeah, I just never felt, I just never understood. I'll never understand why. Surely money, a little bit more money, because it's not even that much of a difference that a normal orphan child would get as opposed to someone who's maybe disabled or
HIV
positive. It's probably not that much of a difference. Now, was it really worth that money for a child to have to experience all of that torment and just such a knock in their self-esteem, and to lose friends, and to be... there was even a day when they accused me of... long story. There was a boy that I really liked. He was in the orphanage, and we would write each other love letters. And one of the house mothers found the love letters, and they took it to the office, and then we got in trouble. And I remember them scolding me in particular. The boy wasn't there, but they were scolding me and saying, asking me a lot of questions. Did you guys sleep together? Did you guys kiss? Da 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 da. And obviously we didn't do anything. And I told them we haven't done anything. But the one thing that really, really broke me was when they said, if you have had sex with him and you're not telling us, do you know that counts as attempted murder? And something about spreading your virus and all that sort of stuff. And I think from that day, I told myself that I would never get married, because then it's attempted murder. And to think that all of that they said was actually it wasn't true. And they knew it wasn't true. And they still had the nerve to say that to a child. And I don't know how many other children they've done this to. And I don't know how far up the lie goes. I don't think it was the orphanage alone. The hospital was definitely involved, because it's too I don't know how to say this, but it's definitely just too big of a thing. Yes.
Because the results that you would get back, they would say HIV positive,
Yes.
and those results would have your names on it.
Yes.
So it means a lab was
from the lab.
literally
Yes. Yeah.
bringing out positive results
yeah.
whilst you were actually negative.
When I still have the results now, and when I compare how those results look to actual
result,
identical. They look so legit, and that's why I say I don't know how far up this thing goes. My friend is a doctor, and she's got access to, I'm not sure what the system is called.
I don't know, medical records or
yeah,
what?
it's something where they can log in with their credentials and check anyone's results if they have the correct information. So I gave her all my information, and all of those results are gone.
So they're not in the system. It's like you were never there.
It's like I was never there. But I've got the results. I've got them. So.
Q, today you filmed, and when you filmed your video, you were very, very emotional, Please tell me, like, of everything, of the fact that obviously, I've spent time with you. I've seen you talk about different stuff that you've gone through the orphanage, but I've never seen you as emotional as you got today, which you can go to a channel. That video is already up right now.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, what about this situation hurts you the most?
It's that children in the system are there because there's been some sort of an injustice to them. We didn't ask for our parents to die. Other kids were there because of abuse that they might have suffered at home or other things. And we were put into these orphanages to be kept safe and looked after and loved. And then for the first injustice to happen, and then this to happen on top of the fact that we were already, that life was already not fair to us. It just felt like it's one knock after the other. And like I've told you so many other stories from the orphanage. I've shared some other stories on my own page about more things that have happened that have hurt, and I was just very emotional because it's like we're kids, and we're meant to face this world already alone. Our parents are not there, and now we're also fighting against adults.
Yeah.
We're taking advantage of our vulnerability to make an extra buck. Like that's all we are. We're just a bit of extra money to them. Yeah, and that's what made me feel emotional, and also the fact that like I I know that as being in the orphanage, it already felt so lonely and isolating. And on the day when I found out that the results were, that was all a lie, I didn't have a mom or dad to run to, or a mom or someone to defend me, or to fight for me or something, you know. So again, I'm now alone again, you know, just fighting and yeah, man, it just felt very lonely all over again. That these people who I thought at least I've at least got
The orphanage, I've got, yeah.
They never had me. They didn't. Because they were able to do that. And it's so much bigger than for orphanages, the whole system.
Yeah.
It's the hospitals. I know that this is probably happening in other orphanages too. It's happening in these hospitals that we were being sent to.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah, it just makes me very emotional. And it could still be happening to kids today. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, you have actually been very public about your stance on you don't want to have kids. Like, you've made that a step. Like, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. Do you think it's also due to the fear that maybe you might have? What would happen to your offspring if something happened to you? Or, you know, like, would they have to go to the system? And you know what happens with these orphanages and everything.
I don't know if it's so much that. I think it's the version of love that I saw towards kids is not it's not beautiful, and I don't believe that I can love a kid because I wasn't loved. I wouldn't know how. So why would I bring a kid into this world and try and do something that I wasn't taught? If that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that is so sad, though. You know, I mean, you're my friend, so we talk about things, but we've never really like spoken about this particular one. And I think I'm just so emotional because sometimes, you know, like, you don't see yourself, but you're someone that has so much love. You make sure that everyone around you is okay, like, literally. So I feel like if you were to have kids or even a child, that child would be one of the luckiest kids in this world, because you would guard that child with your own life, literally. You know?
I don't know. I really don't have it. I think that what I'm doing is replicating what the orphanage did for me.
Yeah.
They took care of our needs, fed us, clothed us, made sure we went to school. And I think what you're talking about, I do see it in the way that I always look after everyone around me. But I don't know if I would say I can love. I don't believe I've ever been in love. I struggle to tell people that I love them. I don't know what that is. And I am in therapy now, and I guess maybe I'll figure it out along the way. But that's the main reason why I don't want to have kids. I've never, the version of parenting that I know is not something that I think is correct, and I don't want to duplicate that.
Yeah. Well, I do hope that obviously you're gonna heal in therapy, you know, so that your mind can definitely change when it comes to that, you know, just because I feel like if it's a matter of like it's because you have fear of you won't be able to love your child, I think you would maybe heal from that. I don't know, but personally, I don't know. Sometimes, like, I know that people who struggle to say I love you, but in their action, love is always there. You're very
Yeah.
kind, you're very
Yeah.
patient. You know, patience is actually love. When you don't love someone, you are not as patient, you know. But I'm not trying to convince you. Your therapist needs to do his job.
He'll do it.
If you're watching the therapist, do your work, please. You know. But what I now want to also just find out is, what do you think would have been the biggest difference had it been that they'd never lied to you about your status?
I only recently started to like myself. Very recently. This was long after I even found out that the results were false. And I think that I would have been so much further in life. I know that a lot of people think that I'm quite far now, but I do think that I would have been where I want to be. I might have been married. I might have had kids, because we're at that age now.
Yeah. Well, some of us have even yeah.
I would have better relationships. And yeah, it's mostly about me and how I felt towards myself. All of that, I wouldn't need that much therapy. I know most people will go to therapy for short periods of time, maybe 3 months or whatnot. For me, it's been 6 months, and I still don't see it ending anytime soon, because there's so much that needs to be worked through. There's so many people that I've hurt. There's so many ways that I've hurt myself. Just a lot of traumas that have built up because of not so the lie, but mostly believing that I was positive in those crucial developmental stages of my life. I was not. Yeah.
So obviously, when they told you that you were positive and you got this from your mom, was there part of you that started to resent or rather also hate your mom a bit that she gave you this?
I've never known my mom name, but I've never. So in I imagine that in people's minds they have somewhat of a relationship with their parent, even if the parent isn't there, right?
Yeah.
So I've spoken to a few people whose parents have maybe passed on, maybe early in life, and they always have such positive things, positive things to say. Oh, I wish my mom was here.
Yeah.
I wish da. I have a very distant sort of relationship to her. I know her name, and that's it. That is it. Don't know what she looks like. Not interested in finding out all of this information. And I think it is anger because she left us to begin with. And then that information didn't help that at all. So it created even more of a distance, that you left us alone and you left us with this. And you're not here to counsel me or to make sure that I'm fine and I'm keeping myself healthy and telling me that it's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world. I'm just supposed to tell myself that. And also, I'm like thinking a lot of things, like, why were you so irresponsible to get it in the first place? What were you doing? You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have a positive image of her in my mind at all.
But after you now found out that it was obviously a lie, did that start making you feel some sort of way towards, like, I've been blaming you for something that wasn't? Because I feel like, when a parent passes, my mom passed, I also, for a while, I would say maybe for like about maybe 3 months after she passed, I was very angry with her. I was like, you left us, this and that, up until I had a dream and she was sitting on a chair and I was yelling and screaming at her. I was just taking it all out. I'm like, how dare you leave? I'm saying everything. And she said, well, I had no choice, my child. Like, I love you. I didn't want to go. But God came and he said we should leave, so I had to go. And so my anger now went to God. I remember I even became an alcoholic at one point, but that's a long story. But now you're finding out that, okay, she passed, but she did not give you HIV because you're not HIV positive. They lied to you for years. Did you ever feel like maybe, oh my gosh, I blamed my mom for so many years?
I didn't come back to her.
You didn't. You've never seen your mother's picture?
No.
So you do not even know maybe where she's laid? Do you know her grave?
I don't know anything. Just know her name, and that's enough information that I've wanted to find out. Because I was angry at her for a lot of things, and what you're saying now is only dawning upon me that I was hard on her for something that she didn't do. It was them who did this. Yeah.
As an adult, are you still angry at your mom? Right now, talking to me sitting.
Yes.
Are you still angry at your mom? What would you say is the biggest thing you're angry for her, at her for?
For not being there.
What if she had no choice?
Well, she definitely didn't have a choice. It's not a matter of me not understanding why she passed, how she passed, all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I'm still angry.
Yeah.
That, I know it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
But I'm still angry.
Sometimes now with me, usually what I do is I get angry to avoid pain. I think anger, it's an emotion I can handle better than actual pain. And when I have to sit down and think about the situation, and now I have to come to, wait a minute, let's sit and actually think about it. Do you think maybe you're running away from pain? That's why you choose anger?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if now you're not angry at your mom, you now need to know, you have the resources now, so you can afford, to get someone, look into, get a picture, get where she's laid, be able to go to her grave. You understand?
I don't know if I guess.
Maybe that's something that you need to work with your therapist as well.
True. But I think maybe that's another topic for
another day. Yeah. No, I do get that.
Yeah, because that one's going to go deep into other things now.
I know. But I'm really just so angered of the fact that the orphanage would actually do something like that, and all just for a quick buck.
And like I said, we don't know how deep this thing goes, how many kids they lied to as well. Not just in our orphanage. I believe that if there was some sort of an investigation open on this, you'll probably find that
so many kids,
all the orphanages were doing some version of this sort of thing. Possibly all the hospitals. I don't know, but
or the labs. Because basically it's the labs, right?
It's all 3 stages. So it starts with the orphanage.
It's the orphanage, the hospital, then the labs. As well, because the results are coming out positive, yet you guys are negative.
Right.
Or you are negative, let's say that. When you found out, obviously, what was the first step that you would say you did? Did you call them? Did you confront them that, hey, I'm negative. Why have you been giving me positive results?
I'm trying to think back at that time. There was one house mother who suspected that something's off here. And I remember she challenged it and she almost lost her job. And I remember when I found this out, I think she was the first person that I told. And she was ecstatic, because she said, I knew. And then I think maybe a couple months later, I asked them about it. And the conclusion from them was, it's a miracle. It's a miracle of God.
You're healed.
I'm healed in Jesus' name.
They should then take people that are positive and take them to that miracle place.
Yes.
So that everyone can just be healed. Because that's nonsense that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because again, like for years, they keep on saying, no, your results are positive, yet they come back and your CD4 count is high.
It's high, yeah.
Nothing is taking it low.
Nothing.
Which again, like, you don't really even need to be a health professional to know this, that if you are positive, one way or another, your CD4 count is definitely going to drop.
You know, it was weird. I was speaking to my friend and a couple of her doctor friends about this as well the other day, and apparently with HIV, even if your CD4 count is high, you're still supposed to be on ARVs.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was never on ARVs should have been. That's why I say I think the doctors were involved as well, because I don't believe a doctor is supposed to advise any kid or anyone who's HIV positive to not take meds yet. Is that how it works?
Yes. So basically what used to happen is that back then, they would wait for your CD4 count to get to a certain number. Then you start your ARVs.
Oh, okay.
But then they changed that.
Okay.
So now if you test positive, whether if your CD4 count is still high or whatever, they advise you start your ARVs first, because I think back then you would now have to, like, it would be almost like you have to get sick for you to now start taking medication. So now they're like, you don't need to get sick.
Okay, cool.
You know, so I think back then it was still like the standard, but for the fact that like the CD4 count would not be dropping, and on top of that, you're negative. Why is it testing positive? That's something that is very, very, it's crazy. You know, it really honestly is crazy. And I think this is something that corruption goes so deep in this country. It's just so discouraging at times, you know. But do you want to fight? Like, do you want justice for what was done to you?
I don't know what I want, to be honest. I've thought about it a lot. I've been advised by a few people that I could sue all of them.
Of course.
From the orphanage, the hospital, the labs, we don't know how far it runs. But I don't know if I have the strength, you know. I don't have the strength. And so I think for now, I don't know if I'll change my mind later, but for now, I think all I want is for it
to stop.
Yeah, for it to stop, and for it to be, you know, brought to light, and for any kids who this happened to know that it happened to me as well, and I'm only getting through it because I'm getting professional help.
Yeah.
And if they can try and get help as well, to do so. I would also want for people to be held responsible.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it needs to stop. It needs to end. Like I said, all of us who were in the orphanage were there because something had gone wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not right for something to go wrong again.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but now what I'm also just interested in, the orphanage now tells you that you're positive. Did they ever like provide like maybe a therapist that is going to help you deal with the emotions, obviously, of this? So you were just told this, and you were just told, you know, go with it.
Yeah.
And that's why you decided to at least confide in a friend, who then turned around and said, we can no longer be friends because of this. And so that now left you completely isolated.
Yes.
Do you think that's why you're a loner?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that happened in that orphanage that... Okay, I think that's why I'm a loner, and then I also think that that's why a lot of people say I'm very funny, naturally. And I think it's a huge coping mechanism that I've just kind of gotten used to. With the stuff that I was sharing about the orphanage last time, we, as all the kids, we would just laugh at these things. Even to this day, we laugh at these things, because if you don't laugh, what else are we going to do? There's no help. There's no therapy, like you said. And with this one, certainly, I couldn't laugh at it. There was no one to laugh about, laugh at it with.
Yeah.
And the only solution was to just isolate. And I am quite a loner. I like to live alone. like my own space. Have very, very few friends. I don't like social settings. I'm not a people's person in that sort of sense, and I do believe that it started from maybe even a little bit before that, but that situation didn't help at all.
Yeah. Wow. So obviously, did you struggle a bit to believe that you're negative after so many years of believing or knowing that you're positive?
That's why I asked them to do several tests. And even to this day, when I go for a test, I'm so scared. I know everyone gets scared, right? But I'm just so afraid that it's gonna come back positive this time, and then that reality,
you're gonna have to live it
go
again.
back into it once more.
Wow. Do you think these people even understand how damaging, that is?
I don't think most people understand. There were so many people involved in this corruption, lie, and these are all adults. I don't believe for 1 second they understood the repercussions of it on our mental health. Like I said, I wanted to end my life many times. I became very isolated. I lost all my self-worth, my self-confidence. And I can only imagine what this might have done to the other kids who this happened to as well. Someone actually said, can you imagine if someone wasn't positive, né? And in hearing this news, they then decide, you know what, I'm just positive anyway, so let me just be wild and just go out there and sleep with anyone, having unprotected sex because I'm positive anyway. Do you know what I mean? And then they end up being positive when they weren't.
I think that for me, it's because with someone out there, maybe they might not understand. Like, looking at the time of now, like, okay, you're HIV positive. The stigma is not as bad.
Yeah.
We've got people that are living positively with HIV, and they're making like even careers out of sharing that they're positive.
Yes.
Understand? It's no longer as how it
Very
was.
different, yeah.
And now we're talking about like this is back then, guys. Like this is back then when the stigma was still there. A lot of us were still scared. I mean, even till today, we still have people that are scared. Like I also don't want to be HIV positive.
Same.
I mean, but to actually be told this, you're a child that is already in an orphanage. You're already dealing with a lot. You're going through life as someone that is not really seen. Because I've watched your videos, and the way that you describe, would you say your orphanage, like an orphanage, is a good place for kids?
It should have been. It could have been.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it wasn't all that good. In the end, there were a lot of things that they did to hurt us. There were a lot of things that people were able to get away with that they should have protected us from, and they failed to do that. I shared on my channel about other things that they allowed to happen to us, and then even just like on a mental level. Say, for example, another child would pass on because they were sick. And one day we would see, like, for example, there was this girl, her name was Barbara, and she was not well. And one day Barbara was there, and the next day Barbara was gone. And no one ever said anything about what happened to Barbara. We just kind of figured it out on our own that Barbara passed away. And can you imagine in a normal household if the father was there one day and then the next day he's gone and the mother never says anything?
Life continues as usual.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And life just continues. That does things to children.
Yeah.
And we are the way that we are today because of what happened to us all those years back. And I at least have the means to go to therapy and try and heal it. And other people don't.
Yeah.
Other kids don't. And they're living now in relationships that are potentially harmful to them.
Yeah.
Because what else do they know? What's better than, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
You know, seeing you like this breaks my heart. Because I don't know, like I see you that you're actually really drained, you know.
Yeah.
Just the thought of you talking about this today, because I saw like the whole day you were literally just, you know, you were Q, but not the capital
Not
letter. You were the small letter Q, you know. But I am really happy of the fact that you are going to therapy. You know, you're getting to unpack some of these things. You know, because I do remember when we like went out one night last year, you know, you said that, was it at night? No, I think we went for lunch. It was definitely lunch.
In Rosebank?
Yes, in Rosebank.
It was a night.
Yeah, it was night.
Yeah.
You said and you shared this story with me, and I remember just saying, what? Like I was really just so shocked. And I remember asking you like, Q, are you gonna do something about this? Like, are you even gonna talk about this? And I remember you saying, no, I am not gonna talk about this. I can't this and that, you know. And so, just how far you've come in such a short period of space, I really just cannot wait to see you 2 years later. You know, continue with therapy. You may be so healed. We'll be sitting here like, oh,
hopefully I won't need therapy for 2 years. It's so expensive.
well, ma'am, stay there. We're about to join.
Yes.
I'm about to join you. You better stay. No, honestly.
Oh, wow.
But I am really happy of the fact that, you know, you are speaking out. You know, I feel this is also part of you taking your power back, you know.
Yeah.
And also like exposing the injustice that is actually happening, you know, in these orphanages and stuff. Because I feel like, I think we said this, and that's one of the reasons why, guys, we didn't go deep into, okay, where are you from, your history, because there's another episode on season 1 of To Hell and Back. Again, I will link it. If you just want to hear the background, then you guys can go and watch that one. But for me, what would you say is the biggest thing you would wish would change with orphanages? And mind you, you went to a private orphanage. I can't imagine the horror that goes on in public.
Hey, I don't know. I knew just a few kids from the public orphanages, and the things that they would tell me would really, really make me feel like, okay, no, I'm good. When actually, no, we were all not good.
Yeah. This is one conversation that really just breaks my heart, you know, because I have such a soft spot for kids, you know, not even just a soft spot. I think we have had private conversations, and I've expressed to you my fears of having a kid, you know, because of the stuff that I've seen and all those stuff. Like, my reality is so far from your reality. Some of the stuff that I looked at and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was the end of it. I hear some of the stuff that you say and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, so what if we had tea that didn't have milk? We had tea. We had tea, like we were sin. You understand what I'm saying?
My favorite thing in the office. It felt like a luxury. That was for the older kids. If you were a certain age, then you could get.
When you were young, what is it? They were afraid you're gonna get burnt or what?
Things like that.
But that's just so wrong.
Or they'll put like, there's a cup, ne? They'll put this much tea. Ne? But then if you're an older kid, then you can have a full glass of tea, and then you can maybe also have coffee later on, just before bed or whatnot.
How is your relationship with food?
Hey!
That A! Ma'am, stay away from my food.
Hey.
No, I'm asking. I literally am asking because I think I recently just realized that I actually have. I think I have a food addiction.
You think so?
It's a problem. It's a personal thing. I'm gonna still have to unpack it with my therapist, guys. because I literally want to go to therapy for this, honestly. And I think for me, it stems off from we grew up. We grew up in a place where my uncles were also there, and their kids could have like bread with paloni and cheese, and they would have a proper sandwich, and we wouldn't, know. And so the moment that I got to a point where I have my own money, guys,
why not?
Like, I can afford to eat 80 burgers. Yeah. Why not eat?
Exactly.
If I can afford pizza now, why can't I buy pizza? Anytime that I think of anything, I'm just, and I'm like, no, something is so, I can't imagine, like, literally tea.
Same. I like tea, I like coffee, all those things that we just didn't, or, you know what I really like? Sitting on the couch. We didn't get to sit on the couch. We sat on the floor and watched TV. And when you were a certain age, now you're in grade 10 and above, and if you behave yourself, then you can sit on the couch.
Well, I used to go to my uncle's house, and when we get there, the wife would be like, sit down. Yeah, we also wouldn't sit on the couch. And, their house was nicer. Right. And, even till today, I'm angry at my dad. Like, why would you not? Like, you were making more. Why would you not? But I'm telling you, because remember, as a child, you only look at your surrounding. So I grew up thinking we were poor. Like, that's what I did, because I would see my uncle's houses and they had better than us. So I was like, oh, so what the poor ones, But I think I only realized, like, when I grew one day, we were talking and someone was like, wait, you guys had tea? That was a luxury. I'm like, no, I thought everyone had tea. We were just stressed that our tea was black.
One thing I don't know if I'll ever be willing to do is some aunt coming to me now and saying, I'm your long lost aunt, or I'm your long lost whatever. Stay lost.
Oh, is it? Go back to lost, honey. Yeah. No, definitely.
That's one I don't know.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about. I mean, I wouldn't say I fully relate, but to a certain extent, I just, like, my father kicked me out and my sisters literally not even 8 months after our mother passed. So we were homeless as well, like, for 5 years, but not to say homeless like in the streets, but we couldn't go home, even till today, I really can't find it in my heart to, like, forgive my uncles as well, because I'm like, that's your brother. We were young. We were kids. Yeah. You guys were older. You should have sat down your brother and talked to him, We were grieving, Like, it was such a confusing time in our lives, and we were young. Yeah. My youngest sister was still underage. And I think that they still don't understand. Like, Owamie, why do you have so much anger towards us? Like, all of them, including my father. I'm just like, you lot failed me. You failed me and my sisters. Like, and you think now we're going to sit and play Happy Family? Exactly. No. Please sit over there, Those type of situations. Yeah. But
I would even forgive the orphanage. I have forgiven. I'm not telling the story out of
spite.
No. And remember when I first told you the story? Yeah. Like a year ago or something. I said I didn't want to share it because I was very conflicted on how to feel.
Yeah.
They've done so much for me.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. I am here today because of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they also did this. So, yeah, I do forgive them. I do. But, yeah, I'm just speaking out for my own
healing as well.
And also just to put it all to a stop. If it's still going on,
they need to just stop.
Yeah.
And I think that this will also help another child out there that has experienced the same, that when they talk about this, they can actually say, look, even Q went through this, and she was also in an orphanage. Because I feel like sometimes we actually think our story is so insignificant, but you sharing literally, when the next child comes, it's not so difficult to not believe that child. Exactly. It's like, it can't be that it's now 2 people, it's now 3 people, So I think what you're doing now is still also gonna save, another child out there, So thank you so much for being brave. Thank you so much for sharing. I know today you literally had to dig so deep.
Guys.
Today was really a very emotional day. I'm not even going to lie. But thank you so much for actually sharing with us. As I said, if you're someone that is in the law or even the medical field and you have advice that you can actually, just advise Q to say, okay, maybe this is what might have happened, or maybe these are the steps that she can be able to actually take. Please do make sure that you can go ahead and comment. If it's something sensitive and private, you can definitely come to my email, which is info@owamieentertainment. info@owamieentertainment.co.za. I'll have it somewhere here on the screen. That's my email address. And yeah, if you also have a story and you want to come share your story onto Helen Beck, you can go ahead and use the same email address, or there'll also be numbers on your screen right now. You can just go ahead and send a WhatsApp and we can organize. But thank you so much for actually joining us, Miss Q.
You.
From Owamie, it was all right. I love you guys so much. Stay blessed, and I will see you guys in our next episode of To Hell and Back. Bye, ninjas.